You know what I promised you all a while back was that I was going to be analyzing these street fights that folks are being sending me left and right and asking what I thought and what I think about them. And number one, this is just for educational purposes. But before we get into all that stuff, I want to thank you all for watching our channel, keeping us afloat and keeping me entertained by seeing the emails that we get from you all out there, because I want to thank you all. Questions about Savate, the history, what I think about this, what should I do in a self-defense situation. All that is enlightening to me, because that's what I've dedicated my last 30 years in doing, a little bit more, right? But so with that said, here it goes. There's a lot of things that are going on in today's society. I don't know if we're getting more entanglements in the street, more people are being pressured into a physical confrontation, or it's always been that way, and now more people have cameras. That's a good possibility. More and more people have cameras now, and people are recording. Number one, I do not condone fighting, but I also do not condone the cowardness of somebody being hit and the person doesn't want to defend himself or doesn't defend himself. We live in a world now that our kids are being taught not to defend themselves at school. We have a bully that's physically hitting a child over and over and over. Parents go talk to the teacher, parents go talk to the vice principal, until one day that child gets so tired of being picked on and hit, physically abused by the bully or the bullies. He defends himself, and he's the one that gets in trouble. Now that, to me, is a no-no, because we have laws to protect kids that way. But in today's system, in today's school systems and districts that we have something that I've just found out the term, but I want you guys to research it. It's called school to prison pipeline. Take a look at it, read, do your own research, okay? And take it from there. And that's the reason why we have what we have now. Fighting, the sense of defending yourself, is the main reason why I teach. I grew up with a family that was very much involved in Savate and boxing, the Cipota and boxing. I grew up with my father and my uncle saying that if you got beat up in the playground, we're going to kick your ass when you get home. I grew up with that mentality. So as a Buitron, I couldn't go out there and lose, right? I might get a black eye, a busted nose, a bloody nose, but you know, you have to defend yourself. I do not impose that type of mentality towards my kids or to anybody else. But the need for you to defend yourself is a must. We have people that do not care about you or about what you have, what you've worked for, and they're going to try to go and get it. Our police, we have great first responders. Our police aren't there to take care of us. Most of the police get there after the fact. Okay? They're more an investigation than actually a deterrent. Unless you have the police walking the beat, which we don't have that anymore. But all in all, I just tell every person out there that's watching this, if you can't find Savate, go to Kempo, go to Kung Fu, go to Wing Chun, go to Jeet Kune Do, go to boxing. You can't find all that, do just Jiu-Jitsu, but understand what the martial art that you're doing and what you're doing it for. Okay? Train yourself. It gives you that confidence of standing up. So, with that said, I received several different conflicts and fights this past week, and I picked 3 of them. The first one, they seem to be in a soccer game somewhere in Latin America. Okay, might be Mexico, and they're fighting in the stands. But I picked a couple of selections there is because when I'm looking at these conflicts, these street fights that are occurring, I'm looking at what technique was used, what were they trying to do, what were they trying to show, what were they trying to prove, were they actually trying to use a technique? Well, guess what? This one kid was actually trying to take a person down, much bigger. And you'll see it in the photograph, and then I'll play the clip. And while he did that, the bigger person just got him and threw him on the ground. And all of a sudden gets on top of him, starts pile driving him. You have another gentleman that comes back and starts defending his friend, started hitting that person in the back, and you had the other guy's friend probably just pick him up and just chunk him. When you pick up a person, you just throw them that way. That means you have strength. They did not look like the athletic type, but they looked like they were hefty individuals that can do that. Why? Probably because they do hard labor. All right? People, you need to understand how and who you're confronting. You might be training in something, and all of a sudden you get a guy that's used to carrying 80-pound cement bags back and forth 4 or 5 times in 20 minutes. He's conditioned, okay? And you get guys that do martial arts maybe once or twice a week, go for an hour, put on the uniform, I can fight, no need. This other guy drinks beer at the after work, knows how to chug a couple down. He has that tolerance. You don't. You go to a game, all of a sudden liquid courage takes over, and guess what? You get pummeled. Understand. Be aware of the situation. Always be aware of who you're fighting. Because this confrontation became a melee. A lot of people were hitting everybody. So you also have to understand who you're going up with, and you also have to understand who your crew is. If I go someplace, I'm with people that I know have my back, because I have their back. That's my mentality. Sometimes I just don't go. Okay? And that's enough for that one, right? But on the next one, I started looking at and you see 2 workers. You can tell they're working. They probably cross words or something to get that way. But both of them are in good boxing stances. You can tell that both of them did boxing. Took boxing, did boxing, or do boxing. You can tell by their hands are guarded up, they're solidified, they're moving in a circle, and one of them throws a jab, or actually it's a cross, and it catches the other one in the chin, falls down. It was actually a beautiful move. And then comes back and starts wailing, and you can tell that he knew that it was a lucky shot. But remember, lucky shots do occur. But they occur because of confidence. The other guy was a little bit bigger, dropped his hands a little bit, and bingo, it went right through. Understand this. In the world of martial arts, in the world in general, the martial art that is probably practiced the most after boxing is Taekwondo. Period. Then after Taekwondo, depending on where I am in society, so I'm going to go from there and I'm going to go into Europe, and then I'm going to go into the United States. If I go into Europe and I go into England, France, all those areas, the street guys are going to be doing some type of boxing. Thai boxing, boxing, or savate, boxe française savate. Period. In France, most people that have money and work are going to be doing Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or Judo. And when I was there, it was Judo. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu didn't even exist. It existed, but it wasn't as popular as it was now. It wasn't around. Nobody knew about it. Only in Brazil, right? But so when you started looking at people back then in the 90s and when I lived that life and when I was there and I was teaching, the majority of people, Savate really wasn't that popular. Everybody was afraid of it. Everybody knew that it existed. The street guys knew that it was well placed, but it was not that popular. In the United States, right now, you're gonna probably meet somebody in the street, a street guy, a street thug, boxing, MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Eskrima Kali of some form or fashion. That's what you're gonna meet your tough guys, or the wannabe tough guys are gonna be doing that. Savate's minute, it's not even the rhymes. Thai boxing. But most of your conflicts that you're gonna meet in the street, somebody had some type of taekwondo when they were a kid. They're doing some type of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they're gonna try to take you to the ground. So understand that. Now, and the next one, I'm just putting it out there, is funny as can be. Poor guys. Both of them couldn't fight the way out of a wet paper bag. They were probably arguing about lip balm or something. The guy knocks each other down. I think they tripped by themselves. Something happened, and at the end, the guy comes up and hits him like this in the head. That was just funny. I've just put it up there just for us to laugh. Poor guys, man. But there's plenty of those guys. And those guys will pick a fight on you faster than a street thug will. Understand that. A street fighter will not back down from a street fight, but they're not out there picking fights. The ones that are out there picking fights are the young guys that are trying to find a name for themselves. The guys that are under liquid courage in a bar, or these guys that have some type of money, have made it somewhere in the world, and they think they're above you in a society gap, and they're going to try to belittle you, and that's when they're going to get into trouble. That occurs. All in all, this is just a dissection of videos that have been taking me for your all's knowledge and for us to dissect what happens. Look at the first one again. Look at the second one. The third one's just for laughs. During that melee, look and see who was hitting who. Remember, they were in a controlled area. In Texas, there's a reason why paper cups for beer it has to be sold in an event, like in a stadium and so on and so forth. Why? Because they'll throw a beer bottle at you, they'll throw a beer can at you, they'll hit you with it, what have you not. So there's actually a law. And when people go out and get insurance, event insurance, especially when we used to back in the 90s and in the 90s, that was the main thing. Are you all selling beer? Is the alcoholic beverage has to be in a plastic cup because of that reason. Nonetheless, remember, those are all elements. Once more, this is for educational purposes. I do not want anybody to go out there and get into a fight or look for a fight. That's not what this is all about. This is to study the type of attacks that are there. And if you look at it, in the first one, you see an array of people. Those people, some of them have been in some fights before, some of them are willing to fight. And you can see how they're throwing the punches, how they're throwing everything else, how they're telegraphing. Look at that, study that, because that's what's out in the street. Okay, until next time, much peace. Stay safe.